How's it going, buddy?
Dude, I'm doing great. It's a
Yeah?
cloudy and gloomy, but freezing cold here. Well, not freezing, frigid cold day here in Chattanooga, but we're here. We're alive. We're back. It's Thursday, January 7th, 2021. It's going to take me a while to get used to, but we're here. It's Crushing Iron Podcast, episode 441.
Welcome, everyone.
Welcome. We are a little bit late today, but always on time. We come to you twice a week,
Some
and we have
business.
been. What'd you say?
So we had some business.
We did have some business to take care of this morning. So we're here. We still get it done. And like I said, as we have for twice a week, traditionally Mondays and Thursdays, but always twice a week as we have for 4+ years now, as we come to you as a triathlon related podcast, I think is how we say it, because we do talk a lot about triathlon, but for the most part, we talk about life and how triathlon integrates into life and what we do. We do have occasional in-depth swim, bike, run discussions on training and our kind of overall training philosophy, and give you guidelines and hopefully a healthy and happy approach to how you structure and approach your own training. But for the most part, Mike and I just sit back and relax as both coaches, athletes, best friends, and talk about what's on our mind. We go through, we're both still trying to find our way. We're not experts. We're not professionals. We're just like you. We're still trying to figure things out. Haven't been in this sport for a very long time. Mike has been doing this as an athlete for 8 or 9 years now and coaching for the last couple of years. And I've been participating in this sport for a lot longer than I care to admit, because I feel like it ages me. It's a very long time, 18, 19 years, and coaching for close to 15 now. So I've been doing it for a while, and for the most part, we'll just try to share our experiences. We'll oftentimes hop into our Facebook group, which you can search Crushing Iron Group, answer one simple question, and we'll let you in. Be a part of the conversation there. There's a lot of athletes in there willing to give you their advice and feedback. Don't hold back. Ask whatever questions you have. A lot of helpful people in there, from middle of the pack age groupers to people who have never participated in a triathlon to Ironman champions and former professionals. So hop in there. We'll use our athletes sometimes as a conversation starter, but yeah, that's what we do. Honest discussion, no sponsors, no ads, just us having a conversation. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.
Very nice intro. I'd like
you.
to give a quick shout out to Mark, who came in yesterday into the hub.
From Albuquerque,
all the way from New
Mexico.
And we worked with him all morning, had a great time, and went through, got him in the endless pool and did some swim instruction and hands-on work in there, and got him on the bike and the run, and we were just, hanging out. And
He's a good dude.
Yeah, very good guy, and we like to call it sort of a triathlete's tune-up experience.
That's
trying
right,
to dial it in for you,
experience.
get your zones, get your forms right, and everything like that. It was a really good time. I really enjoyed it, so thanks for coming in, Mark, and I hope to have many, many more of those experiences. And actually, Mark is in the club program, which is still going on. We're going to probably run that through, what do you think, end of this month?
Probably in January.
Yeah, I think people are still...
They don't listen to us in real time.
They don't listen to us in real time. They're catching up. And, it's that time of year when I think people are starting to get a little bit antsy to button things down and get ready for races that are coming, right?
They are coming. Yeah. We'll talk about that today.
We will?
Yeah. I got a solid topic for us today.
Oh, the club?
Oh, after the club.
Yeah.
You can find me
C26triathlon.com. Pull down the club. Check it out. It's all there. Still registered.
No, it is. It's a great option. We do. I think we forget that sometimes, that the 9 of you that listen to us don't actually listen to us in real time every Monday and Thursday, but you get backlog. You got a lot. You're busy. You have things to do just like we do. So you're probably catching up. And if you haven't, I know a lot of athletes have said they listen to us while they run or while they ride. And if we're being honest, a lot of people didn't do a lot of running or a lot of riding in November, December. So, or probably a lot of commuting. So, the traditional podcast, time where people just kind of chill out and listen to, whatever Netflix or podcast, whatever, you probably didn't do a lot of that in November, December. So we want to make sure we give you guys a chance to catch up. And if you want to be a part of our club and have us plan your year race-wise, because for a lot of people, this conversation with the gentleman next year is like, we're doing he has 4 Ironman coming up in 2021, which I don't advise. And Dell, if you're listening, no, I don't advise it, but we are where we are. And so we just started working together, but that's how a lot of people have, their training, or not their training, but their race schedule set up this year is you had, your 2019 goals and hopes and dreams set for 2020, and then 2020 kind of shuffled things around because you deferred things or you pushed things back or things got postponed. So you went out of races. And now we're all just kind of dumping them into,
Just add them in.
yeah, it's kind of like when your parents back in the day were like, Mike, go clean up your room. And you're like, gosh, I'll clean my room. And you shove everything under the bed. And everything, you don't really clean anything. You just make it look clean. That's kind of how I feel the race schedule looks like this year. But we'll make it
funny that we did that as kids.
Oh, I did that every single time.
I know.
And then Hayden, I think Hayden's done it once because I'm like, dude, I know this trick. I'm like, go clean up your own. He's like, I'll come back in there. He's like, yeah, I cleaned it. I'm like, did you clean it or did you just push it under the bed? He's like, yeah, I put a few things under the bed. I'm like, it's just that's so tempting. It is so tempting to just shove it under the bed. But yeah, we'll help you out, and we hope the races happen. They will happen at some point this year. We're a long way from anything being decided, so but that is kind of where I wanted to go. And I don't know if you had a burning topic for today or any other kind of thing you wanted to go over, but I thought the conversation that you kind of literally walked in on yesterday when I was on the phone with Mark Bryce, one of our athletes who was in town a few weeks ago, did a 50-mile trail race here in Chattanooga. We had a kind of a team trail race because those races are definitely happening right now. So we wanted to give our athletes a opportunity to connect and do something as a community, as a team. So we did something. We had 20 athletes coming to town. So he did that, and we were just kind of touching base on next year. And I think, listen, yes. Do I think races are going to happen this year? 100%. Do I know, and can I give you like a concrete answer, which I get this question probably daily from athletes, is like, tell me what you really think. Or I'm like, I will. And the answer is still, what I really think is, I don't know. When are they going to happen? It was like, I obviously can't predict. I thought Muncie was going to happen, and it was like 2 days away. I thought other races were going to happen 2 days. Wasn't sure about Ironman Florida, and it went off. I wasn't sure about Challenge Daytona. It went off. So we can't be in the business of predicting things, because I think then it prevents you from really going all in, and you just kind of stay out. And I think a lot of people are already staying out too much anyway in terms of not committing to things. But what Mark said to me, and this is probably going to sound like sacrilege or anxiety driving for a lot of athletes, but he was like, I just don't know. I just don't really know what I want to do this year. Because we sent out a survey to our athletes that was like, hey, what races are you wanting to do this year? Your whole race calendar. What are the races you want to do well in? What do you want to be your main focus for this year? And then also asking, hey, if you could do something out of the norm, what would you want to do this year? Whether it was like a swim run race or a trail race or, a long swim or whatever. And he was just struggling with it. And he was like, I just don't know, what I want to do this year. And I know that's bad. And I was like, whoa. That's not bad. I actually think that's a good thing. Okay. I'll go deeper because you came in on the end of that conversation. But the way I explained to him was this, because we got to talking about just being available. And that's kind of where I wanted to kind of go with the podcast, I guess, in general, is to be fit, to always be available. And what I mean by that is, I think given like he's married, he has kids, he's a working professional, he's busy with that. And I said, listen, there's a lot of things we don't know about this year. They're going to happen, and then we have to wait to happen. And so if you're one of those people who has to wait for 100% certain, which some athletes do, I just don't know. I can't go all in because I'm just not really sure when races are going to happen. So we just got to talking about the how great it is to be able to just basically be on call with life and basically say, hey, your buddy wants to call. I'm like, hey, do you want to go run, 15 miles on the trails today? Sure, let's go. Hey, do you want to go out and run, a long ride today? Because he has other athletes that we work with up in Minnesota that live down the street. He's like, hey, I want, Jake or Sean, like, hey, you want to go ride for trails today? I want to be able to do that. If my kids say, hey, I want to do this, I want to be able to do that. And I think oftentimes we forget as athletes that we're so obsessed with a race date that we a lot of times, and I think the example I gave him for this past year was that, I bet you there were millions of, if you look across the whole triathlon population or even running, just runners or cyclists or swimmers, that when you had an opportunity this year to be like, hey, we're going out with a bunch of friends, we're going to go do a long ride, or we're going to do a trail run, do you want to come? And you're like, nah, I can't. I got a trainer session. I got a Swift race and a ride. I can't go do that because I got to get ready for this race, and I can't mess up my training by doing this one thing that's really fun and a great experience with people. And then you look back on it when the chances are your race is probably canceled, and what you did was you look back and you sacrificed time with people and experiences to do something by yourself. And listen, me, I'm all about doing things by yourself. I'm all about training by yourself. But I mentioned it to you in the car earlier when we were traveling, as I said, that was one of the things that really was kind of eye-opening to me when we had all these athletes coming in to do this really hard trail race, ended up being like 20 plus miles or the 50 miles. It was incredibly hard, but every one of them said they had an absolute blast by doing it. And I think this year, if you're struggling with like the uncertainty of races or what races to do, or you're overwhelmed, or you didn't even get in any races because they were all sold out, you kind of find yourself in no man's land. Listen, the goal of what we're doing is not to just do one race. It is to be healthy. It is to get in the best shape that we possibly can. So I think that sometimes we forget that the goal of this is to get in the best shape we can possibly get in, so we can do, like, think of the freedom that gives us as people, as athletes, to really be able to just pick up with the drop of a hat and be like, yeah, I can go do that, and feel the confidence to do that, and just how overall healthy and fit you'll be. And I think sometimes we forget that that is the ultimate goal, and should always be the ultimate goal, even if races aren't happening.
Yeah. I mean, I just jumped in that 10K trail race with you guys the other day, like the morning of. And that was kind of cool. But I have to also say that, there's this contradiction that we sort of, not you and me, but like just in general society puts on each other. It's sort of like this idea of being very disciplined or something like. And then while I agree with everything we talk about in this podcast, it isn't always easy. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, when I put out my race this year and it's Chattanooga full, and I'm sitting here going, okay, there's a disciplined way to get to exactly what you want, and it's not by busting out of the chains and going to run a 25K or something on a whim. But I hear exactly what you're saying. It's like this, everything in moderation kind of thing or something like that, where you're like flexible, right? It's like you can't just be super rigid in life, because I think those are tendencies that when you put all that kind of pressure and focus on one particular race, and that's all you're thinking about, and you have to do a double bike ride today, or you have to do a big gear workout, just instead of going out and running with your friends or going kayaking or, supboarding or whatever it is, and missing that experience. You continue to pile that pressure on, because it's like they're going to be going, dude, I thought you were training, like you didn't even do that good. Why don't you come supboarding with us or whatever? Right. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, I think that's a subconscious pressure that you put on yourself. And you've talked about it many times, how I actually like that. I sort of like this under the radar. I've always been under the radar. I always like to kind of train by myself, and I kind of like test my limits on my own. And I feel like I'm pretty good at it. But, in a nutshell, I definitely agree with what you're saying. I just say that I have a difficult time with that sometimes, especially if you're in a groove. And I think that if somebody's training and they're really nailing everything, then all of a sudden you're going to throw a little curveball in there. Hey, let's go do an ice cream run or something like that.
I can do an ice cream run right now.
That can get a little dicey.
No, I think I agree with you. And I think you have to kind of know who you are. Mm-hmm. And we talked about this earlier. It's like you're a guy that has to have the race. It can't be like, I'm just going to get fit. I'm going to get in shape. Like, that's not good.
I don't want to just feel good for no reason.
No, you want to have a reason. And there's like, listen, I'm not saying there is literally nothing wrong with that. Like that's honestly what drives most people to get up every day. But I also think that when you're trying to balance, the frustrations, the letdowns, the emotional roller coaster that was this last year for athletes and coaches alike, is like, there's really is nothing wrong too with also being like, I don't really know what I want to do this year, because and Mark's a guy who'll do triathlons one year, and this year it was more trail running. We have athletes who this last year did Ironman, then now they're going to like long distance swim races. Like, I think it's great to be flexible, because if you're not flexible, then you really do limit your options on what you're athletically available to do. And I think when the goal is to just become like the best overall version of yourself, the best fitness you can possibly have, that could look drastically different every year. It could look drastically different every quarter. But I think the goal that we have to keep in mind is that as long as you're moving in a positive direction, as long as you're trending in the right direction in terms of gaining fitness, it doesn't have to always be specific. And you don't have to feel guilty for not having a goal. You just have to find a way to get out the door. And if that is just looking at your life as being, I want to be able to, because that's honest. Like that was a huge reason why, like when I used to work for Iron Tribe back in Kansas City, when people would come in and want to get in shape, like when you ask them like really, really why they came in and why they're doing things, sometimes it'd be something simple as like, well, I want to be like, my kid wanted me to go outside and play the other day, and I just couldn't do it. I was too winded.
Out of
I was out of gas and I didn't want to do it. Or I remember this lady specifically. She said that this last summer, my family was going to hike the top of one of these mountains in Colorado, and I made it halfway, and I'd tell them to keep going the rest of the way because I couldn't make it because she was just generally so out of shape. And I think, and I get it. For most triathletes, we consider ourselves in a different population in terms of being fit and being healthy and being able to do these things, but I think it's also allows us, if you think about it, to do these things that are free, that we don't like. I think experiences are what people are going to be craving this coming year. People are going to be craving experiences because a lot of people just did things. They did everything by themselves in 2020. They did it either because they wanted to, but they were forced to, or they felt uncomfortable being in groups. They just did it by themselves. And I think as things begin to open up at some point, and we get to be around more people, like people are going to look at things like I think people always say, like, when people are on their deathbed, they don't regret the things they did, they regret the things they didn't do. And I think that's going to be at the forefront of people's minds this year in terms of health and experiences. People are going to be concerned about their overall health and just being healthier people in general, mentally, emotionally, and physically. But then also, like, we see it in the economy with people are looking for experiences to, like, go do things. People are moving. People are selling their houses and downsizing and moving to different cities. We've seen it in Chattanooga. People are moving here quickly because they don't have to work at an office building in Atlanta or Nashville or do things like that. So I think you're going to continue, and that's our bid for you to come move to Chattanooga and come see us. But
I like that.
Yeah,
that was nice.
Thanks, appreciate it. But I think you're going to see more of that, and I think there's such positivity in knowing that no matter who your buddy is or your friend is or even your kid or your family, it's like, hey, let's go for a hike today, or hey, let's go for a long ride. You might not be in 4-hour ride shape, but if you've been in 2-hour ride shape, you can probably squeeze a 4, right? Yeah. I'm not here advocating for, you being in 3-mile run shape and your buddy's like, hey, let's go do 20. You're like, nah, that's probably not the best idea. But then again, I'm very, yeah.
Here we go.
I'm not that guy because I think people get injured too much, but, I think you have to weigh the pros and cons of what am I going to do and experience and what am I going to miss out. Because listen, I am the first guy to text athletes a very long explanation of why they shouldn't do something, and it starts with this: no, and then there's a period, and then it's over with. Like then when they ask, hey, is this a good idea? No, it's not. Like, is it generally a good idea? No. But as I told people for December, when they did December rules, I was like, don't be the originator of the bad ideas. Right. And I don't even think we got to this point when we did our December rules kind of preview for the podcast. But one of my rules for them was don't be the originator of said idiotic ideas like running 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. Because really all that I see is people get sick for the next week. That's all I really see. Or go hop on Zwift and do a 100-mile ride or go do whatever. I'm like, don't be the originator. But if you want to tag along because it's someone else's bad idea, tag along. Like, don't just...
That's fair. I think that's fair.
That's fair. Like, just don't be the creator of said bad ideas.
Can you plant seeds?
But you can plant seeds if you want. Like, we're all about cultivating. But I think I just think we need to be able... We got to live a little. And I think that's important. I don't think we want to look back on, a second year of racing and think like, I had to stick to the plan. And you look back and you think, how many opportunities did I miss to go run with my buddy down the street or doing this? Like, I applaud athletes who weekly, monthly say, hey, I didn't do this today. I really wanted to go run with my group. Then go for it. Like, whatever you think you need to do. I had this question yesterday with a newer athlete. She said, hey, I'm still part of a master's group. Do you want me to still do those sessions or do you want to do your sessions? And I generally said, which I always do, I generally think my workouts are better than most masters, some coaches. But if you think that the group dynamic is something that is positive for you and will help you get in the water and just generally something that we need, especially right now when most people aren't getting much group interaction, then do it. Like, what you need more than your coach, more than anybody else. You know what you need. And I think as we look to this year to be successful and, we all want these performance-oriented goals, like, what is it that you need out of this year? And it might not be to cross the finish line at 12 hours at this race you want to do for 2 years. It might just be, I just want to be really healthy and really freaking happy and the requirements for both might not match up. So which is more important, sacrificing so much for this 12-hour goal, or being happy and really healthy, which is probably going to propel you to a much happier life past whatever this race date may or may not be.
Absolutely. When you talk that Masters thing real quick, I just had a thought on that because I know that's
hate mail.
no, I think that maybe a reason why a lot of people do that and why I can totally get behind it is my theory on, when you swim with really good swimmers, or you ride with really good cyclists, or you run with good runners, I think you just naturally get better, just by being around them and things like that. And I think that's a really good probably bonus with some of these Masters swim class things. Maybe, I don't know, depending on the class. But aside from that, whenever you go into, or whenever we talk about this type of thing, I'm always kind of reminded of I wrote a blog about this long time ago. It's called something like Live Like a Kid or something like that. And I remember like thinking and going through this thought process of, man, I just like, and it's sort of been my philosophy in a weird way. And, I bet people might call me immature or something like that, which is probably true, but it's not by accident. And there's a lot of things that
you're on purposely immature.
Yeah, because I like to live young, so I get almost frustrated sometimes with this sort of manufactured grown-upness that people have in them. And it's this weird thing that like, I'm like, where does that even come from? Over time, I guess it's passed down through quote unquote manners and things of that nature or whatever. And I get that, you have to have certain things that are more grown up in life, and, you have to be responsible and all that kind of stuff. But I think we lose track of that free spirit of a child. And that's what we really, I think that takes us almost further than anything. And it's okay to kind of go outside of the lines and do something you really want to do because you really want to do it. And we've seen many athletes before that have done triathlon and they've tried, and it's like, it's just not quite. And then all of a sudden, they're like in the off season, they'll just start swimming a lot or whatever. And the next thing you know, they're swimming like distance marathon swimming type things, and falling in love with swimming, or falling in love with riding or running. It happens like individual sports as well. I think triathlon is a great sort of launching point for some of that type of stuff. And I think vice versa, of course, that people, like for me, it was sort of, I fell in love with running, even though it was ridiculously painful to try to be a runner late in my life. Then triathlon became my love because it felt better. And I like the variety of it within that realm. And I like the variety of the cross training, and I like the cross training for the cross training. And there's different elements of that, whether it's, body strength things or all kinds of across the boards. But to me, ultimately that spirit of a child, the spirit of a kid, like, why do we not do that? I mean, like, it's like, I know that people like, I bet did we talk about this, or I read this, that kids laugh like 100 times a day and adults laugh like 3 or something like that. It's sort of like this.
I don't doubt that at all. I mean, I see a direct core. I mean, there's a lot.
You can't laugh at anything like if it's because everything's so serious.
Everything's so serious. Like,
and it makes me just so boiled.
Yeah. Boy, that's a great use of the word, boiled. There's a lot you said there that I love, and as coming from, the standpoint of like being a parent, there are a lot of times that when and I get, some people might say I'm like too serious sometimes, but I like to have fun and I like to kick back, and I'm actually pretty relaxed for an adult. And I wear flip-flops year round, so I can't be too much of an adult. I'm a little bit laid back. But there are a lot of times that I question myself when I'm parenting. If I tell if I tell Hayden no, and then my immediate next thought sometimes is why no? Does it really no, or am I just trying to like adult myself onto a 4-year-old? And I'm like, does he really need to be told no, or I'm just like telling him no because I don't want to clean up the mess, or I'm like, what is he doing even really bad? Is it inconveniencing? Or should you just let him have fun because he's 4 and be a kid and do things. Because I know when I was growing up, my dad and I don't have a relationship at all, but he was very, very strict, very, very stern. We did not have a lot of fun. And I remember the first couple years of Hayden's life, and he's still in those obviously, but I was like, I want him to have fun. I want him to be able to do things. I want him to be able to enjoy himself, and he needs to have manners, obviously, but he also needs to, he needs to have fun being silly and doing stupid things, because he needs to feel free to express himself. And I think, and going back to what I was about to say when you were finishing off there, is that I see a direct correlation from when he gets home at school. If we spend the first 30 minutes together, and he'll hop on the couch and right now his favorite thing is I have this little corner of the sectional that's pretty much mine, and I sit there and I'll relax and hook him up, and he just wants me to tickle him, and he'll laugh for forever and laugh. And if we do that, then he is usually in the best mood for the rest of the night. Like if he just comes and we relax and we kind of have a connection, and then he has this thing, we're totally irrelevant, but whatever. He calls it a game, but he calls it sit belly. Basically, he runs from one end of the couch and sumo jumps on top of me and tries to basically break my ribs. But he calls it the sit belly game. And so if we do that as well, and he just gets the biggest kick out of it. And sometimes I'm like, I'm like, why? Can we just have fun? There's so many things in life that I think we overcomplicate and overanalyze, and it's like we're driven to rip the fun out of everything by either overanalyzing it or always putting things on a scale of pass or fail, or you're succeeding or you're not succeeding, or we have so much, where to go. And that's why I have such a hard time, buying into wanting to work with, I've been toying with the idea of, helping start a kids team. And my biggest drawback is I don't want to work with any of the parents for the most part. I love working with kids more than anything, to be honest with you, but it's the parents that usually will just suck the life out of the fun of the sport. And I knew that was a lot of the part with me when I grew up in swimming, but it's just, this is for us to be a kid. This is yes, we want to perform well. Most triathletes are type A. They're driven, they're committed, they're motivated. They want to be high performers, but just as many just want to get fit and have fun and do something for themselves and be happy doing it. So the freedom that comes with that, and I will tell you this right now, of all the athletes that I work with, the ones that just love doing it for the sake of doing it, they rarely ever get in a funk. They rarely ever have a bad day. They rarely ever are devastated from a race. They're just having a blast. But the other ones that analyze themselves into this, paralytic state of being, of always comparing things and always being so rigid and always being so we have to be. Triathletes are famous. People joke on triathletes, they're so serious all the time. Everything has to be this way.
I know.
We are all focused on this race. And there are memes, there are videos, or whatever, of how, insanely serious triathletes take themselves, but where is the fun in it? And I just think it's important to, and not just from a personality standpoint, but when you look at your training, have fun with it, and be free to do things that, allow yourself to express who you are, and then sometimes express where you're going. Because like you said, we have, and as a coach, I have so many athletes that I work with that have gone in and out of the sport of triathlon over the last 4 or 5 years. I'm one of them. They've gone in, they've gone out, and it's our website is, C26 Triathlon, but our podcast is Crushing Iron. And sometimes I wish we didn't even have triathlon labeled as what we do, because it's what we do, but we coach people. They just so happens that most of them do triathlon, but a lot of them just, do running events. A lot of them do cycling events. A lot of them do long swim events. Some of them just do trail running. Some of them do, swim run events. We coach people. It just so happens that right now, for a lot of them in this period of their life, they're focused on triathlon. But even once you give it up, it's so funny, hearing athletes say, hey, I can understand if you don't want to coach me anymore, that, I'm not going to be doing the triathlon. And you're like, what? What do you mean? Why would I stop coaching you because you figured out you didn't like the sport of triathlon, you want to go do, then you do you. I just love working with you as a person. I don't really care what you do. If you want to pick up something else and we can learn about it on the way, but I just think we put ourselves into too many rigid holes that we can't get out of, because we feel like that's part of our identity and part of why we get up and do the things we do, when really our focus should be happy and healthy, And that should be our biggest purpose each and every day. And every day that might look different. One day it might be adhering perfectly to the schedule that's been laid out in front of you. But the other part of it might be like, hey, you know, another athlete that lives in Virginia, and frequently she'd be like, hey, today I went and ran with my friend, my girlfriend, because she needed somebody to talk to. Good for you. Like, do that every single time. And like, yeah, thank you for telling me, because it doesn't change the way I see about you as like your training, but it just reminds me how good of a person you are. Like, that's the things that we should be encouraged. Not like, hey, sorry, I can't. I know you want to talk today on your birthday, but I've got a 40-minute zone 2 run at 10:35 pace with 135. I have to stick to my plan, or if I don't, I will fail and I will not be able to crush the finish line at Ironman Chattanooga in September. I have to stick to the plan. I have to get my green training peaks. I'm sorry. Good luck with the rest of your day. No, that's not how we should live. That's not how we should treat people or treat ourselves, because, you know, at some point the coins are going to be flipped and we're going to be the ones to be like, hey, Mike, you know, do you mind going on a trail run with me today? And just to kind of have, because a lot of times people don't even want to talk. They just want somebody to kind of go along with them and just kind of be there. And it makes you feel better to have that kind of unspoken conversation, that it just is having somebody by your side. And so I think having the ability to always be able to say yes to that is an incredible gift and an incredible strength and an incredible opportunity that we can all have, not just this next year, but for years to come.
There's a real thing that I believe, it's like energy frequencies and things like that. And I think that kind of thing happens when, you know, like you said, it doesn't, if you go out and run with somebody or do something, maybe one of you's in a funk or whatever, and the other one can bring you up. And I think those kind of things, you know, just being around people, the transfer of energy or that communication. But I love what you said. Can't we just have fun? You know, I just think that really sums it up really well, because we've all seen it, right? You know, we know serious triathletes, and, you know, I can put myself in that boat at some point in my career and everything like that. And then you see people that just have fun and they train, and then you see them both show up at the race, and one of them is kind of like on edge and whatever, and the other one's just kind of walking around the expo and doing their thing. And then you see them at the finish line the next day, and the one that just kind of like was consistent and did his thing or did her thing and was just having a good time with it all. It's like, how'd you do? I did great. I'm just so happy. And the other, what happened? Oh man, well, I cramped up at, you know, whatever. It's kind of that story. It's just, I'm generalizing, of course, but it feels like that happens. And I wanted to go, because you were talking about Hayden, and of course I don't have a child, so I can't talk from that perspective, but I can talk from the other perspective, as in, you know, saying no, like, you know, the saying no, why do I have to say no? Or why do I have to why do I always have to adultism on my child? And I think back to my dad, he really wasn't like that at all. He didn't tell me really to not do anything. He was kind of, you know, real laissez-faire with that, you know, and what I picked up was just his actions, right? I think that's what kids pick up. I mean, I think that's the lasting effect a parent can have on a child. And in my case, it was just sort of, you know, just knowing how he was and how he treated people and that sort of thing. And that kind of thing really resonated with me. And then it got me thinking, while you're talking about that, it was like, okay, so now, you know, like in recovery, there's this thing, this parenting yourself type of thing, because, you know, the adult child and, you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I just think that's very interesting too, because like we can tell ourselves no, we can kind of get real parental on our own selves. And that kind of, you know, it's that sort of, we have to be, you know, controlling this other crazy child. And I think that kind of battle goes on inside us a lot. And it's just very interesting to me, because, you know, it's almost like you have to be like, okay, hey, I gotta let that person go and have fun again, because man, it can be tricky. This last year has been tricky. You know, it's still a little bit tricky. There's some weird stuff out there, and boy, what good is not being able to be free and go run around and do the things you want to do without, you know, you kind of pulling your own reins on yourself.
And like increasing the scale in which you can say yes. Because, and I think that's something that sometimes we forget as athletes, that are one of the most exciting things I think about being in shape and being fit and being healthy and being at a level of, you know, whatever you want to consider performance or your best performances, your scale of things you can say yes to just grows exponentially. You know, do you want to do this to me? I don't, like, you kind of like, I don't know if I can do it. So you're like, I don't know if I want to, you know, but to live in a way that's so healthy. And like you see, like so many there are a lot of athletes who like transcend different sports that are just insane at all of them. And every time you see them, they're having like a freaking blast. Like, so imagine that. So like if you're having trouble getting up in the morning, you're having trouble staying focused, or what's your why this year, or what's going to get you out of bed, or I don't really know what my goal is, or what do I want to do this year? Like your overall goal can just be to be freaking more available, right? To your friends and the opportunities and experience that you've oftentimes had to say, no to. Like if you think back to, 6-7 years ago, whenever you're starting your journey, and you think about, say, hey, do you want to go on I'm going to go hit up Lookout Mountain and run the trails for an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I want to, but really the answer is, I don't know that I can. But to have but to know that you've gotten in good enough shape, or you've been consistent, or you're in a good place and you're healthy enough, like, yeah, let's go. It might not be totally comfortable, but the answer is yes. And because you're excited, and there is no, it's what we were mentioning earlier, athletes love to compare everything that they do. Workout to workout to workout to workout to workout. Every single thing that we do must be measured, must be compared, apples and oranges.
Study.
And there is so much awesomeness in one-offs and things. And that's another thing why I thought the trail race is so great, is that it had never been done before, because the course was totally different, because they couldn't get permits on a certain side of the mountain. No athlete had done it before. It's not going to be the same conditions. It was just an experience of time and effort and people. There was nothing to judge. There was nothing to, be hard on yourself about. You hadn't done it before. It just is what it was, and which was fun and hard and difficult, but you grew and you enjoyed it, and you got done. You're like, I just traveled 20 miles on my feet over rugged, rocky terrain in December with beautiful scenery, with people that I love. Yeah, that's awesome. Instead of always feeling like if we can't compare it, or we can't log it, or it can't go into Training Peaks, then it's not really worth doing. But I swear to you, like if you look, and when I look back into the workouts and the days or the experiences that I remember most from the last 10 years, I couldn't tell you any number or any metric or any watt or any miles per hour that I did. It was all based on the people I was around, the intent and the effort that I had in the workout, and the memory and the experience that I had from doing it. I don't remember anything else, but we get so caught up in only focusing on, the numbers and how that robs us or we compare things to, the way where we want to be or where we want to go and where we've been. I think just sometimes we forget how simple it can be of just to get out and do as much as you can and love it as much as you can. And even then, if you do that, the chances are you're probably going to get into pretty awesome shape and do some pretty fun things.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a while there when I had this philosophy, and I might bring that back based on what you just said. It's sort of like, pay for experiences, not things. And the experience that you're talking about, I was like, you chip in some money to do this, but it is that. It's like you take that with you. And you also mentioned be more available. And that reminded me of a week I had about 10, 15 years ago, when I decided I was going to have a yes week. I may have brought that up.
I remember.
Yeah. And I said, you know what? Whenever anybody asks me to do anything this whole week, I'm just going to say yes. And boy, did that get me in trouble.
Come back to bite you.
Yeah, I think I was drunk like 7 straight nights, to be honest. But, it was an experience. I'll give you that. I paid dearly, but, that was way back in the day. But anyway, I do think that I like that, just the... Boy, if you would, sort of like you call me on a random night going, hey, let's just go to this speaker tonight. Let's go watch this speaker. And I'd be like,
yeah, you'd say no.
I'd be like,
yeah,
well, why?
You're like,
I would look for excuses.
I'm already in. Yeah, I'm already in, man, for the night.
But you'd do the same, probably, right?
Yeah, I'd wonder, like, why the hell are you asking me at 7 o'clock?
I know, but I mean, maybe we ought to have you and I ought to have a yes week, like
Dude,
not, just like make it constructive. Yeah, I mean, we'd have parameters, but I'm just throwing that out there. But I mean, the point being is that it's very easy to do that generally, right? Say, well, I got, stuff to do, which is 90% of the time probably not even true. The stuff to do means you've got to watch a Netflix special. but I mean that people kind of count that.
Yeah.
And that's what all I'm saying is like, maybe like after last year, we really need to step out or like force ourselves out of that comfort zone, because boy, it's probably pretty easy to work at home and stay at home and work at home and stay at home these days, instead of just, I mean, like, when have you had more time, and when have you done less is
For a lot of people. Yeah. And that's it, because, and so if you marry those two together, the uncertainty of races with people doing less, because it's both, like a lot of people need and want to have like the race to make them do, but a lot of people have just had more time and chose to do less than they ever have before. Mm-hmm. Right. And so again, like if you're struggling with motivation out of the gate, or you're like, oh, what does this year need to look like? You don't need it to really look like anything in order to get moving. Right. Because I think that's, again, like what we forget. And we had this question yesterday on our team Zoom call that we have every Wednesday. It's like, hey, is this normally what it would look like at this time of year for this type of training for a 70.3 in May? And I'm like, yeah, but at the same time, like, aren't we always just trying to get kind of better anyway? Like that's the point, right? The point is to get better. The point isn't to only try to complete a race. The point is to always get better at what we're doing. And that means working at it, not every single day of the year, but it means working at it a lot. Like it's just your fitness journey and your where you want to go with your performance and how you're trending as an athlete. Like it doesn't stop at race day. For some reason, there's this like, and yeah, we took an easy time to go through things in December. We were pretty flexible, which is needed, I think, more emotionally and mentally than anything physically. But outside of that, like we pretty much, most people just bust their ass 11 months out of the year, not too hard, but like we're just smart about it and consistent, because that's what it takes to get better. It's not just, why I'm 4 months out from this race. Why am I doing this? Well, don't you just want to get better like infinitely, like all the time? Or are you just concerned with only being available at a certain level for this one day in May? No, the point is to always get better. So I think sometimes people look at it backwards. You're not training for these races. You're training to get better the entire time. These races just come up along the way. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a way that a lot of athletes probably are not confused, but maybe don't look at that specific way. It's like that, like if you're in this sport and you don't know when you're going to quit, right? And you don't ever see quitting anytime soon, then isn't the point to just keep getting better day in and day out? And if the answer is yes, then get to work, right? And don't be like, my big race is it really a big race if you're not doing anything about it? Like it's off season isn't for, sorry. It's like, it's just,
that just made me laugh on delay.
I'm just like, what? I don't get the point. I don't, what do you mean? Your big race, is it really a big race if you're not doing shit right now? Like just get out and do something about it. Isn't it too early to be swimming twice a week? Is it? Last time I checked, we need to work on your swim. So get in the swim 3 times a week. Like that's just it. The point is to get better, right? The point is to always get better over time. You can do that with focusing on a race. You can do it with focusing on, a performance-oriented goal. But you can also do it just to like want to have fun and literally just be in the best shape of your life. And that can look in like a million different ways. But in order to get there, you also have to do the work to get there. Yes, you should have fun doing it. Yes, you should be happy. Yes, you should be flexible and do things that, make you feel alive, that make you feel good, and that give you energy in life. But you have to do what's required to get to that point too. And it can't just be a blasé, lackadaisical approach to everything. Because that's also, it sounds fun, but it's not. It just sounds more comfortable to you because you can just kind of not do things when you don't want to do them and do things when you do. But that's not really getting where you want to go. It's just taking it really easy on yourself.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that like to do spin classes, and I think, especially go for it, man. I think there's nothing at all wrong with that kind of stuff. I think the difference is like if you're going to race a full Ironman or 70.3, you need to get used to your tri bike and being in that position and going long discipline intervals and stuff like that. But as far as getting in shape and feeling good and feeling alive, that is outstanding. Go do your thing. Go do your dance class. Do we have a lot of dancers?
Our dancers?
Cross dancers?
Not me. I don't have a lot of cross dancers. Take that for what you will. I'm with you, man.
how do you get out there? How do you make it enjoyable instead of a pain in the butt? I mean, like if you find a pain in the butt stuff enjoyable, that's your secret. You know, that's a twist of, you know, the mentality.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, can good. You know, and some of us like that. I mean, I like that too. I like when I get in the grind, I'm like, damn, I gotta go do that. But once you get in it, and there's something really kind of satisfying about being in that sometimes once you get it. But again, it's getting out the door, getting on the bike, or whatever the case is. It's like you got to get there somehow. How are you going to get there today?
And it's also like like you were talking about, it's also like the blessing and the curse of what excites you. Some people like dread hard workouts, dread them. Some people dread the easy stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that just isn't really exciting for me. Like, I need speed work 6 days a week. I need this, I need that. And so there's this double-edged sort of like what excites you and what doesn't excite you and what's boring to you or what's exciting to you or what gets you going. And that's another thing I think everyone has to manage is like, you know, it can't always be both. You know, you can't always have it the way you exactly want to have it all the time. You're going to have to do some things at some point that you just kind of, maybe not you really just don't want to do it, but that you're like, this isn't my favorite, but I know it's part of the process, so I'm just going to do it. You know, and I think that's just part of it, of kind of getting to where you want to go. There are things along the way that you have to do but the thing is that should be like, you know, 5 to 10% of the time, but it's that 5 or 10% that allows you to do the other 90% all the time, you know, and to the best of your ability and the way that you want to do it. We just have to remember that they're more, you know, momentary inconveniences than they are staples of things that we're going to hate for the next, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7 years.
I got a quick question on that. Because I'm that guy. I kind of dread the Zone 2 rides and things like that. And it just, is it because I just hate sitting on that bike when my butt, you know, like I'm not used to it. And especially like yesterday, I was like, man, this is easy. It feels pretty good and everything. But about 45 minutes in, I was like, man, this is a painer. But I was like, if you're working harder, you're putting less weight on your butt. You're putting more on your legs, right? Is that a valid theory?
No. Why is it a valid theory?
Because you're pushing down.
No.
But if you're just sitting on the saddle and you're spinning.
Just get on the bike more often.
Well, I know you got to build that up, but I'm just saying,
like the whole thing.
It's the same with the theory of like getting out of the saddle. It feels good. You know what I mean?
Getting out of the saddle feels good.
You get out of the saddle a fraction more of an inch is what I'm saying.
That's why you bike outside.
All right, I'll start doing that.
Yeah, you just get outside. It's only 40.
Yeah.
No, the answer is no. I'm not joining you.
Hey, come on, man.
Yeah, if we're gonna do
Yes Week,
if we're gonna have a Yes Week, the parameters are anything.
Can you imagine?
Anything between
anything
between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. I'm game.
11 a.m. 3
I gotta put parameters.
Yeah.
on
Hey,
that.
Mike, we're gonna go swim the chat full course today. That would be amazing. That'd be good theater for the podcast.
Gosh, yeah, I can't.
If we did a 7-day Yes Week of workouts.
No thanks.
Give me one more. Oh, you're not?
No.
You're not in?
No, I'm not in. The answer is no.
How about 1 month from today?
How about 1 month from today? We do a week of yeses.
I gotta.
We'll discuss it.
I need the month for it to get in shape.
Yeah, me too. We can talk about it off air.
Okay.
Which most people, you're probably already off air anyway. But hey, we'll wrap it up there. It's hey, whatever. We hope you've had a awesome start to the year. And you're off like gangbusters, crushing and knocking off those New Year's resolutions 1 by 1, 2 by 2, whatever you can do this year. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. We love you. We appreciate the time that you give us and the opportunity to reach you and connect with you. If you want to and you haven't, go on, visit our website, C26triathlon.com. It is our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. If you have any questions, comments, or coaching interests with Mike, you can reach out to him. He is at crushingiron@gmail.com. If you have any of the same for me, you can always reach out to me directly, C26coach@gmail.com.
All right. Yeah. And I should say, yes, I am accepting athletes at the moment to coach full-time, and I'm also I'm the club administrator.
Club administrator extraordinaire.
Extraordinaire. Check that out at our coaching tab at C26 Triathlon. And, as a coach, I can promise plenty of yes weeks.
Co-dancing.
And
whatever you call it.
Co-dancing. So check that out. And we really thank you for joining us. It was an awesome day. Same to you, buddy.
All right, dude. See ya.
See ya.